This is an AI-generated discourse.
Hey everyone, so today we are diving into a really fascinating study that looks at how prepared university faculty actually were for that huge, sudden shift to online teaching. We're going to be looking at a paper from David Day Armier Jr. and Damio Zhou Xu, and the title itself is just so telling. I was an expert on Monday and a novice on Tuesday. It really gets to the heart of the matter and asks some super important questions about what it even means to be ready.
You know, when the whole world went online, seemingly overnight, education just got turned on its head. It really makes you wonder, right? Who was actually ready for that? Who do you think handled it the best? The professors who'd been teaching for decades? Or maybe the younger, more tech-savvy ones?
Well, the common sense answer seems pretty obvious, doesn't it? It's got to be the professors who already had experience designing online courses. I mean, they'd already been there, done that. You'd think they were perfectly prepared for this new reality. Seems like an open and shut case. But what if that common sense answer is wrong? This study basically challenges that entire assumption. It suggests that our idea of who was ready might just be a myth, because, as we're about to see, readiness is way more complex than just knowing how to use the software.
So, to dig into this, the researchers were smart. They didn't just survey any old faculty member. Nope. They went straight to a group of 114 professors at a U.S. research university who had already designed fully online courses before the pandemic even hit. I mean, if anyone was going to feel ready, it had to be this group, right?
All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty, because readiness isn't just about knowing which buttons to click. The study breaks it down into 5 really distinct areas, 5 facets that cover everything from personal feelings all the way to big cultural pressures. First up is what they call comfort with risk. And this isn't about being a tech whiz. It's really about the psychological side of things. Being willing to try something new, a new tool or a new teaching method, right there in front of your class, even if it doesn't go perfectly. It's kind of like having the courage to experiment and maybe even learn right alongside your students. Okay, the next one is huge, and it's right in the title of the paper, Identity Disruption. Just imagine this. You are a renowned expert in your field. You've been teaching for 20, maybe 30 years. And then, all of a sudden, you're struggling to figure out a discussion board or basic software. It's that feeling of going from an expert on Monday to a total novice on Tuesday. And that can be incredibly jarring.
Then you've got teaching norms. This is all about challenging the old way of doing things. You know, the classic one-way lecture. Being truly ready for online teaching means being able to shift from being the sage on the stage to more of a guide on the side. It's about encouraging students to work together and lead their own discussions in that new digital space.
All right, this next one pulls in 2 big institutional pressures. First, there's equity norms. Are you actually prepared to deal with the fact that some students don't have good Wi-Fi or a quiet place to study? And then there's tenure norms. How on earth do you balance the insane amount of time it takes to build a great online course with that constant pressure to publish research or, perish?
And finally, we get to something that's so often overlooked, lifestyle readiness. This is the practical, real-world stuff. Do you have a dedicated office space? Can you actually get through a lecture without kids or pets interrupting? So often, institutions just focus on the tech and completely forget that a professor's home has suddenly become their office, their classroom, and their lab, all rolled into one.
So what did the data actually show? This is where it gets really interesting. Look at this. When it came to comfort with risk, these experienced folks scored pretty high. They were willing to experiment. But for everything else, identity, teaching norms, lifestyle, all those scores were just kind of meh, right in the middle, in that uncertain neutral zone. That's a huge disconnect.
And this quote from one of the faculty members in this study just says it all, doesn't it? The problem is there just not being enough time. It really shows that hidden struggle. Even the people who are supposed to be the experts felt totally overwhelmed. Their workload didn't decrease. In fact, it went up. They were just buried.
So if having prior experience wasn't the magic bullet, then what actually made a difference? What really predicted whether a faculty member felt ready? Well, the study looked right into that, and the answer is really specific.
And honestly, the results were pretty surprising. Get this, things like age and how many years you've been teaching in general, they didn't really predict readiness at all. So being a 30-year veteran of the classic lecture hall, it just didn't translate to being ready for teaching online.
What did matter, and this is the crucial takeaway,
was specific experience in designing online courses. It wasn't just about having taught online before. The real game changer was that hands-on experience of actually thoughtfully building a course from scratch. The folks with advanced design experience felt way more prepared than the novices.
But wait, there's another really interesting layer here. The study uncovered this kind of hidden connection, a linchpin that ties a lot of these other factors together, and I think it's something that pretty much all of us can relate to.
Okay, so check out this number. The researchers found a positive correlation of 0.45 between lifestyle readiness and those teaching norms we talked about. And out of all the connections they looked at, this one was the strongest, by a long shot. So what does that actually mean? Well, it suggests that a professor's ability to innovate and adapt their teaching for an online world is fundamentally linked to their work-life balance and their environment at home. To put it simply, if a professor's home life is a chaotic mess, their ability to be an innovative teacher takes a direct hit.
And man, this quote from another faculty member just perfectly captures that feeling. They say they could see doing a mix of in-person and online, but not all online. I would lose my mind and body. It just shows you the real physical and mental toll when that lifestyle readiness isn't there. Burnout is a massive risk.
Okay, so this brings us to the big so what question. With everything we've just learned, what does this actually mean for universities? How should they be supporting their faculty, not just during a crisis, but in this new era of education?
Well, the study makes it pretty clear that just offering tech training workshops isn't going to cut it. Institutions need a much more holistic approach. That means 1. Actually acknowledging workload and burnout. 2. Creating mentorship programs where the experienced designers can help the novices. 3. Showcasing the cool, innovative things other faculty are doing to encourage that risk-taking. And 4. Really focusing on giving faculty the tools to address student equity.
Ultimately, what this research really does is push us to ask a much bigger, more profound question. As education keeps evolving, how can our institutions support the whole educator? It can't just be about the software, right? It's about supporting the human being who's dealing with all these pressures, not just the technician sitting in front of a screen.